This week, I had to tell my son to wait. Not because I didn't want to help him, not because what he needed wasn't important, but because if I added one more thing to my day, something in me was going to snap. He's starting college prep, forms and deadlines and planning, and I love that he comes to me. I really do. But every single time that he needed help this week, it was right as I was sitting down to write or record or create. And I kept putting my creative work aside until one day I didn't. One day I said, "You've got weeks to finish this. Let's do it tomorrow." I went back to my writing. I sat there afterward thinking, why does choosing one important thing always feel like I'm failing another? There's a note that I read recently that stopped me mid-scroll. It was from a Substack writer that I follow, John. And he wrote this. He said, "Working plus writing plus music equals no physical activity. Work plus physical activity plus music equals no writing. Physical activity plus writing plus music equals no money." Humanity has developed a system that does not leave time for everything. And I just stared at that because it feels true. Like adulthood is a constant equation where something always gets cut. And this week, for me, it was my creativity. Except for one day, when I chose it on purpose. There's this constant low-grade guilt coming under adulthood. If I sit and read for 3 hours, the house feels messy. If I deep clean the house, I didn't create anything. If I create, I didn't move my body. If I work, I didn't rest. It feels like every choice cost something else. And for someone like me, someone with ADHD, someone who thrives on creative hyper focus, someone who can absolutely lose track of time writing or reading, this tension can be very, very loud. I can sit with a book for hours. I can write and not look up. But then I look around and I think, shouldn't I be doing something more productive? Or worse, shouldn't I be doing something that makes money? We love the idea of balance, the morning routine, the 5 a.m. club, the I work out, meal prep, journal, meditate, run a business, and never miss a day crowd. And listen, if that works for them, that's beautiful. But for me, that sounds sometimes boring. I don't want every day to look exactly identical. I don't want a life that feels like a perfectly color-coded spreadsheet. I like having a model or having consistency, but I also want variety. I want seasons. I want creative bursts. I want days where I'm in the garden and days where I'm in a book. Days where I move my body because it feels good, not because it's on some checklist somewhere. Balance for me has never meant equal every day. It means intentional over time. John's note also touched on something bigger. This idea that our system is designed for productivity and profit, not necessarily for wholeness. And I don't think he's wrong. We are rewarded for output, for hustle, for money making, not for sitting quietly with a book, not for going on a long walk, not for practicing music, not for thinking deeply. And yet, those are the things that make us human. So when we try to do all of it, we feel like we're failing. But maybe the system is the thing that's misaligned, not us. Here's something I've started noticing. On any given day, I can do 3 things really well. Not 4, 3. I can work, move my body, create. Work, create, and be present with my family. I can move, rest, and plan. But the 4th thing, that's when I start to feel stretched too thin, overstimulated, and behind. I can get snappy. And this week, I got a real life reminder of that. As my youngest son started working on his college prep forms, his application, all the planning, and all those grown-up steps, which I love for him. It just so happened that every time that he needed help this week, I was in the middle of creating. And it happened multiple times. And putting that work aside, helping him was very important. I had already worked those days. I had already spent time with the family those days. And helping him was important. So I didn't have room for a 4th thing. And so my creativity got bumped. I felt that familiar guilt creeping in. And then on the one day where I had worked, I had dealt with our second business. I'd already poured into everyone else. And he came to me again. And I knew if I didn't put my creative work at number 3 that day, it wouldn't happen. So when he came in with more forms, I said gently, hey, we've got more time. It doesn't have to be done today. Let's pick it a different time. And I went back to writing that day. And it wasn't because he isn't important. And it's not because I didn't want to help him. But in that particular day, in that moment, creativity was number 3 for me. And that was enough. That moment wasn't about selfishness. It was about capacity. I am allowed to decide which 3 things get my best energy in one day. And sometimes that means my child, my work, my body. And sometimes that means my work, my child, my creativity. But it cannot be more than those 3 at full capacity every single day. And I don't think that that makes me a bad mom or a bad creator or a bad employee. It makes me human. I think there are 2 types of balance. There's the routine model, same wake up time, same workout, same work block, same writing block. And then there's a variety model. And the variety model says this week is creative heavy. Next week is movement focused. This month is financially focused. Summer might be slower. January might be structured. Instead of trying to do everything every single day, we zoom out. We allow others to rotate focus. And for someone like me, someone who gets bored easily and thrives in those bursts, this feels sustainable. It feels steady, not rigid, not chaotic, steady. The real exhaustion isn't from doing too much. It's from the guilt of not doing everything. When I choose to read, I want to read fully. When I record a podcast episode, I want to be in it. I want to be here. When I work out, I want to feel my body move, not mentally writing to-do lists. Presence is impossible when guilt is in the room. Let me say that again. Presence is impossible when guilt is in the room. So maybe the real work is learning how to choose without apologizing. What if the goal isn't, did I hit every category? But instead, what did today need? Some days need money, some days need art, some days need movement, some days need rest. And over time, if we're paying attention, it can even out. Not perfectly, but honestly, steady doesn't mean simultaneous. My word of the year is steady. And I think I misunderstood at first what that meant. I thought that steady meant consistency in all areas. But now I think it means consistent return. I will always return to movement. I will always return to creativity. I will always return to work. But I learned in those 2 weeks when I was stuck in my house that wasn't the time for those things. Being stuck at home. I'll speak about this in the last episode. That was a time for me to do those creative things. And as soon as the weather changed and the outside wasn't frozen and cold, now I can do the movement. I will always return to those things that are important to me. Not all at once, but over and over again. And that to me feels human. If you're feeling like you can't juggle it all, right? You can't. No one can. But maybe, just maybe, you're not supposed to. Maybe you're supposed to rotate, to ebb and flow, to choose 3, to release the 4th, to live in seasons instead of spreadsheets. I want you to ask yourself, what needs my attention right now? And choose it fully, without guilt. Everything else will still be there tomorrow. This has been Tea with a Taurus, where we move slowly, think deeply, and grow steadily. So, pour yourself something warm, choose one thing, and give it your whole self. I'll see you next week.